Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So today I'm going to talk about something that I really stressed over when I was purchasing my first Porsche 911, my previous Carrera 4S that I bought a couple of years ago. And that is the financial aspect of it all and the surrounding finances that come with planning life, planning for the future, buying fun things like these, but also just creating a balance in all of that. I really stressed, it was the biggest vehicle purchase or purchase I had made that wasn't a property. So it was a little stressful buying a depreciating asset that I hadn't spent that kind of money before. So I really had no rule of thumb as to what was appropriate in terms of what to spend and what I should be doing with the rest of my money prior to deciding, okay, I'm ready to purchase a car like this. So I did do some forum searching, really trying to find good information out there from other people. I think the biggest problem that I ran into is a lot of these people are at a tax bracket way above me. That seems to be a common thread, obviously, when looking at exotic cars, expensive cars, Porsches. I believe that the average Porsche owner for a new purchase, their average income or median income is somewhere around $600,000, which is extremely high. Obviously, that goes without saying. So it really skews the perspectives you get on some of these forums when people are discussing this. So I'm not extremely wealthy by any means. I don't make $600,000 a year. So it's tough to relate to what these people were saying. So I really wanted to come on here and just give a perspective and I think some good rules of thumb that will make people's decision easier when it comes to pulling the trigger on maybe their dream car or a sports car or something that maybe is a little bit out of their wheelhouse and an unnecessary thing to buy, but something that has been a want for a long time. So that's the perspective that I'm coming from. Owning a 911, owning a Porsche, some sort of a sports car was always in the cards for me. I've always been a huge car person, but balancing life and determining when the best time to actually buy something like this was very tough for me. So I'm going to start and go just through some of the rules of thumb that I think are a pretty good basis for someone to look at and maybe reel in and understand before they make a decision on purchasing an expensive, fun car. So the most important thing I want to start off with that I think everybody should have, regardless of if you're looking at purchasing a car or not, just a general life rule is a cash reserve. So 6 months of expenses in reserves of cash in case something happens, you lose your job, an emergency, whatever, something comes where you just need cash available. A 6 month volume of cash is, I think, a very good rule of thumb that everybody should be having. So the lowest rung of the readiness ladder to buy an expensive car is have your cash reserves set like you would for any other decision you make. The next thing is debts. So if you have any other vehicle debt, you're not ready to buy another car. You should have your vehicles paid off, they're depreciating assets, and there's no reason to have a payment, especially on a car, a second or a third car, which this would be for most people. You should not be having a payment on your first car and then buying another car. So both cars should be paid off, but before you're purchasing your next car, your primary vehicle should be paid off 100%. That's no question. Now, these are rules of thumb. Obviously, there's different strategies with low interest rates and things like that. That's up to more of an individual decision-making basis. It's hard to have a rule of thumb there, but if it makes sense with lower rates and you have plenty of cash available to pay off your current vehicle plus the vehicle you're purchasing, that's a different story. But overall, rule of thumb, no bad debts. Loans, unless it's a property, credit card, cars, whatever. So net zero loans. That's what I'm getting at here. The next thing is, where do you live? So I think it's very important before, again, spending a lot of cash on a car, you should own your primary residence. I know purchasing home or purchasing property in general isn't for everybody, but rule of thumb, if you're renting an apartment, you're parking your car outside, you're renting a garage, it's not by choice because it's for other reasons, can't afford a home or whatever the case may be. If you're not ready to buy a car, don't buy a car, save, go buy a house first. That's the kind of a no-brainer for me. I know a lot of people might have some different feelings, but I think it's very important that you own your primary residence prior to buying frivolous items like sports cars. Now, investments, retirement. This is, I think, very important as well. People are gonna have different opinions on how you should invest, different strategies, things like that. I'm not here to argue about that. I'm not saying this is the best way. I'm not saying it's the right way. It's just a good rule of thumb. So maxing out your traditional retirement accounts is very important if you want to retire in a reasonable age. So doing that prior to purchasing a vehicle and being able to maintain doing that after purchasing a vehicle and not impacting your investment strategy is huge. So starting off by maxing out your Roth IRA every year, maxing out your 401k or your Roth 401, whatever your employer does, getting that match. I know there's different strategies on that, whether it's getting the match, doing the minimum 401k and then going into a different individual investment account, or maxing out the 401, whatever it might be. But if you're maxing out your 401, you're maxing out your Roth, that's 30 grand a year for at least 2024. That's going straight to your retirement account. That should be maxed out, no question. You shouldn't be sacrificing retirement or future investment planning for retirement to buy a car. Now, like I said previously, when purchasing a car like this, you should be purchasing it with cash, or at least have the ability to purchase it cash and then finance strategically, whether it makes sense or not with rates or investments that you have on the side with that cash. So that doesn't mean that you have, say it's a $10,000 car, you have $10,000 in savings, I can afford it. No, you should have more than enough cash to pay off the car and then some. Whether it's a 150 or 200% rule of cash for, say it's a $100,000 car, you should have $150,000 or more available to purchase that vehicle and still have your reserves on top of that, right? So your cash reserves plus your cash for the vehicle plus that extra 50 to 100% of the vehicle cost. Now, again, very rough rules of thumb. This changes with the scale and the price of the car. So it's very rough, but it gives you an idea of how financially conservative you should be when purchasing assets or depreciating assets that you don't need, that are for fun, that are very much wants. So it's very important, in my opinion, to approach these situations from a very financially conservative perspective. I don't think it's a good idea to reach and stretch your budget, stretch yourself to purchase something you don't need, especially something that isn't going to add value from a financial point. Now, obviously it's adding value from a joy, happiness, meeting a goal, whatever. Those are also important. So again, I'm beating a dead horse when I say it's all up to you. You need to balance life, what you want to do, right? Money, retirement, fun, enjoyment, life. It's all a complex puzzle. We're just trying to figure it out. But this is just, again, rules of thumb. 2 of them, right? Okay. Now, kind of branching off that, you need to think about what's important in your life. Is it important that you're going to retire at 40? Okay, well then you probably shouldn't spend your money on things like this. Do you want to balance retire at 50, focus on retirement, have some fun? Maybe you think you can afford an expensive car, dial that budget back a little bit, balance it with other things. Do you like to travel a lot? All these things are just things to think about where you prioritize your money, your investments, your fun money, and your experiences in life. Now, I know I struggle internally with this a lot. Every time I'm spending, anything really over $200, I'm like really thinking about it hard, thinking about the opportunity costs, thinking about what else I could do, thinking about how dumb I am for spending money on X, Y, or Z and exhaust, things like that. Always stresses me out. And I don't know if I'm unique in that, but I think it's a common thing with a lot of people. So it's really just thinking about those goals. And I think if you're really attacking some of your investing and planning for the future, and you can still have some leftover cash on the side, I think it's less to think about, but it's still, your mind still goes to where else could this money be going? So again, with opportunity cost, obviously you're taking a lump sum of money and throwing it at a car. That could go into an investment, could go into a property, could go into a business. So opportunity cost, what's more important to you? Money tomorrow, enjoyment today, cars, future wealth, retirement, whatever, right? Balance it all. Also, you have to think about ownership costs. So I think it's also important to have money put aside in case something happens to a car. Obviously, you have to pay for insurance and gas and normal upkeep. So you should be thinking about maintenance costs, tires, as well as having kind of a fund in case something breaks and you have to spend money to fix it. Now, depending on the car, that amount is going to change. Some cars are more reliable than others. I don't think there's a good necessarily rule of thumb for that. You could say, oh, 5% of the vehicle's value I should just have ready to go every year in case something breaks. I think that's fair. $5,000 on a $100,000 car, something breaks, got to bring it to the shop. You know, that's probably going to be a few grand every time. So if you budget that each year, you're also going to be okay there. So again, lots of things to think about. I'm going to try and put all these on the screen as I go. A lot of this also depends on the type of vehicle you're purchasing. Are you purchasing a brand new car that's going to depreciate the second you drive it off the lot? Think about that a little harder maybe. If you're purchasing an older car like this, how much is that going to depreciate? Think about that. So if you buy an older car, you're protecting yourself a little bit more. You're not dealing with the depreciation. You're dealing with lower registration costs depending on which state you're in. You're still dealing with the same taxes, but that just kind of is what it is. But with an older car, you're not locked in. If I decide tomorrow, oh, I made a mistake, I'm not happy with my decision, or something comes up in life and I just need a bunch of cash right away, I can sell the car and yeah, I'll lose money, but it's not as much as I would lose if I bought a new car. So you might take a $5,000 hit on a car. Okay, yeah, that sucks, but it's not gonna kill you. Buy a new car or drive it for a year and you lose 20%, 30%, you're gonna feel that more. So there's a lot to think about with the type of car you're purchasing too. With an older car, you're not locked in. You're not locked in financially. You can dump it, get most of your money back, and take less of a hit. Now, purchasing a car like this is gonna cause you to make sacrifices in your day-to-day life. Forget all the investing, the saving, the planning. We covered that. You should be doing that no matter what. If it's going to impact your day-to-day life and stress you out, then that's also maybe not the right move for you. Maybe you're not quite ready yet. I get stressed for different reasons. I mean, it's another thing to worry about, to fix and take care of and whatever. That's normal. But financially, if it's going to stress you out where you don't want to go do certain things, or you're afraid to spend money for, whatever, then also you're impacting your quality of life in a negative way. So think about the balance of all these things. I know I'm probably talking in circles, but don't rush into a car you can't afford, because it's not going to be enjoyable. I promise you that. Now, I know I'm kind of repeating myself a bit. This is sort of a strategy that I use to approach, my Porsche purchases. I looked at, do I have cash reserves? Can I afford the car cash? Am I maxing out retirements, or at least going overboard with my retirement planning so that I can retire hopefully early? Am I planning for other expenses? Am I able to do all the things I want to do, like travel, go out to eat, and just kind of enjoy life and not have this purchase really hang over my head? All of those things were true for me. Now, I'd be lying if I said that from time to time I don't think about what this money could be doing elsewhere. Obviously, that's something that's going to cross your mind when it's a significant amount of money. But that just is what it is, and you have to be okay with it. You have to be okay that you're sacrificing property, an investment, or whatever it might be for something that you really want and can enjoy, and would rather enjoy potentially when you're young and not when you're old, or when you're not around anymore. Who knows what life's gonna hold for all of us? So it's balancing all those things. And if I had $1 for every time I said balance during this video, I'd probably have like $5, but that's all I can say is balance. So that's really kind of the gist of what I'm getting at. I may not be helpful at all for anybody. It might be annoying for some people who just want to buy a car now. It might be not conservative enough for other people. Everyone's got their standards. Now, obviously, these decisions are going to vary based on your income level, how old you are, what you're doing with your life, whatever. But I don't know. I thought this video was going to be a little more cut and dry than it is, but it's turning into me kind of just talking in circles. So I'm going to wrap it up here, but that's kind of what I wanted to talk about. and maybe it'll help you at least get your juices flowing when you're looking at a vehicle or stressing about whether or not you should purchase a vehicle. Hopefully you can maybe reflect on some of these things, some of the things you want to do with your life, how you want to plan, etc., and just gives a good rule of thumb. So that's all I really wanted to say today. I know people really got a kick out of my video about the cost of owning my C4S, so I figured I'd do something, related to that regarding the financials or things to consider when looking at financials for purchasing an expensive car. So that's all I have for today. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks.